Hey guys, it's Mike Goldstein here with Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And today we're actually going to do something a little bit different than we normally do during the podcast. We're not bringing any guests on or anything like that, but rather I want to kind of take a deep dive and take a look at what has changed in the world of SEO over 2022, what is going to be different in 2023, and kind of go from there and see what actionable steps you guys can take with your own websites, with your own Google Business Profile, link building, social media, essentially taking a look at everything in the online visibility spectrum, and what can you do to improve your ranking moving forward into the next year. And we're going to do all of that just after this.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors, and also the author of the ultimate internet marketing guide for kitchen remodeling contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
Guys, we're back here, and we're going to jump into this. So if you give me a moment, for those of you on YouTube Live here, we're going to share a screen. For those of you listening, I'll be happy to share these. Just shoot me an email, mike@kitchenremodelingseo.com, and we will like I said, we'll be happy to do that for you and email you those moving forward. So all right, let's kind of get started here. So really, what are we going to cover today? So we're going to cover really the latest updates with the Google algorithm, what has happened in 2022, everything from the help content update, from the link spam update, and all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about the things that you have to put in place right now that you need, that if you don't, and if you continue going down that path of what we've been doing in 2021, 2020, and before, it can really start to hurt your ranking. And in fact, we're going to talk a little bit about how Google not only is filtering certain results, but if you're doing specific things, if that relate to AI content, that relate to poor relevancy with your links, not disavowing certain links, that actually could penalize your entire domain and even any other websites that you're connected in your author bio through schema would connect you to. And at the end of the day, what you need to do, how are you going to optimize your website using the 2023 SEO formula. So, when you think about it, SEO, it's really a powerful marketing tactic. There certainly is social media. There certainly is Google Ads. There's, traditional mailing. There's traditional calling. There's radio ads. There's all of these different things out there. But SEO is possibly one of the most powerful marketing tactics because what it allows you to do is it allows you to build your brand authority and to show up where people are proactively searching for you, as opposed to radio, as opposed to TV, streaming commercials, things like that. Social media ads, all of that is based on audience interest. All of that is based on you think that someone is going to be interested in what you have to sell. Services, they want to see, they want to see your authority, but they're not proactively looking. Search is all about proactively looking. And most importantly, the other area that you can do this with is Google Ads. But what does SEO do for us is SEO allows us to compete against those larger competitors. It gives us the ability to show up against competitors who have a much, much bigger ad spend than we possibly can. And let's, take example. If I'm a cabinet store, out in Peoria, if I'm a custom cabinetry company in West Haven, Utah, or someplace like this, and I have a Home Depot and I have a Lowe's, or Paris, probably not, going up against the same clientele. But you get the idea. You get some very large budget companies who can put millions and millions of dollars in ad spend against, where you might be able to put in hundreds, maybe thousands a day if you're lucky. But if you use the strategy with SEO the right way, you can compete and you can rank right up with those big guys. Because you're doing that, it's going to allow you to expand your brand's reach. It's going to allow you to get your content in the hands of people who are looking for it and looking for it right now. So the biggest thing that SEO really does, though, is it allows us to kind of look at the path, or gives us a path to uncover the voice of our customer. Search is one of the most honest and unfiltered channels for listening to the voice of the customer. We can tell based on what somebody is researching. We can tell based on the keywords they're putting into Google, that they're putting into Bing, what is it that they are really after. And it may not be exactly what we think they want. Search will uncover what the customers are looking for, but not only that, but it uncovers how they're looking at it. So a perfect example of that is, I'm a kitchen remodeler. I think that I want to go after terms like full home remodel, complete kitchen remodel, big terms like that. When at the end of the day, maybe what I should be looking at is custom cabinetry. Maybe I should be looking at granite countertop installs, something like that, which is just a small part of the total package that I might be offering, but it's the doorway. And I hate to use the term, but it's the gateway drug, right? To get your foot in the door and to allow you to sell the full service that you really have. And not only that, but one of the things that we really want to look at is, where the customer is looking. And through search, we know we have opportunities to be in the ad section where people know these are paid sponsored advertisements. They often ignore those. We also know that there is an area in these maps where people are looking for local providers, and you get that local 3-pack. We've talked about this before, right? You've got, custom cabinet store near me, kitchen remodeler near me, Tampa kitchen and bath remodeling company, things like that. What's going to happen is you get those 3 listings that Google thinks is the most relevant for that specific area where that person is searching from. And when I say specific area, we're talking about 1/10 of a mile, right? You go 1/10 of a mile down the road, you may get a different set of results. But the end of the day, the thing that matters most is that 71% of the clicks that go to home service providers come out of that local 3-pack. Why is that so important? Is we want to make sure that whatever we're doing from the SEO perspective, we're optimizing for that 71%. We're optimizing for that local 3-pack, not optimizing for the organic rankings. Are the organic rankings important? Absolutely. Are we going to be able to dominate our market if we don't dominate the organic rankings? Not a chance in hell. But here's the thing. You gotta hit that 71%, because the vast majority, if you're selling if you're going to sell soda, are you only going to sell, the private brand market, or are you going to sell Coke and Pepsi too? Well, the vast majority of people, they're going to go for the Coke and Pepsi. So you got to sell that. Same thing with SEO. Same thing when you optimize. You want to make sure that you're showing up where your customers are. So let's take a look at really what are the 4 biggest challenges. What are the things that we need to look at right now that you might have been doing a little differently last year? You might have been doing a little differently 2-3 years ago. Perish the thought, but it might have been doing it 10 years ago, and you're still doing it, and you're going to get penalized, by the way. You've probably already been penalized if you're still doing the same things you were doing 10 years ago. But let's kind of dial this in a little bit, right? So number 1, and probably the most important thing, you can no longer get away with duplicate content. That means that I can't create 10 pages for every different neighborhood in my major city or every city in my area and just change the title, change the key, the main keyword, go from Boston to Somerville to Chelsea if you're in that area. In the Sarasota area, change Sarasota to Tampa, and it's not going to work. The content's going to get filtered out. Now, you're not going to get penalized for it. There's no such thing as a duplicate content penalty, but Google will simply choose one of your pages is going to rank, and it's going to ignore everything else. So that's number 1. Don't don't be using any kind of duplicate content strategy. Same thing goes for stock images, by the way. If you use the same image that everybody else is using, Google knows it. They're going to filter that out, and they're not going to pay much attention to the image. You're not going to show up in Google image search. More importantly, if you try to just change the title of the image, Google can actually read images now. Don't do that. Use your actual photography. Take out your phone and just take a picture, right? The second piece, second thing, is low quality links pointing back to your website can really hurt you. The Panda, the Penguin algorithms we've talked about ad nauseum, they've been around for almost 10 years now, but it's even more important now that not only can you not have bad sites linking to you, but actually content that's not relevant at all. If I have a local hamburger chain in the state that's linking to me because I kind of deal with them to do some kind of reciprocal link, Google doesn't care. I mean, unless that company happens to be right next door to you and you're setting some geographic signals, they don't care. And it actually can hurt you because now you've got, depending on the anchor text that's used, they might be sending signals to Google that Google doesn't understand what you're really all about. So we got to kill out those low quality backlinks. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we do that in just a few minutes. Third thing, and this is the big piece that came up August 25th, 2022. The helpful content update started to roll out. It's still rolling out, by the way. Probably isn't going to be finished until the end of 2022. But at the end of the day, this was an algorithm that was meant to penalize, not filter, penalize sites that are using AI, artificial intelligence driven content. If you're using Jasper, Jarvis, whatever they're calling it these days, if you're using some other sort of AI tool to create content, it's not to say that you can't, but you need to make sure that you edit the content, that it sounds like an actual human being wrote it, and that it's written for human beings and not written just to throw a bunch of keywords or maybe some relevant sentences together that you think Google will want to see and use. Because if Google determines that you're using that AI-driven content, they may actually suspend your GMB. All right, that's a big deal, guys. As far as I know, there's only one company who's ever had a major suspension and been able to buy their way back in for doing something that's really, really bad. That was BMW. I mean, there's a lot of things you might get soft suspensions for, and you can get yourself back in. But if Google determines that you're trying to game the system, if you're trying to trick Google, with AI content, to write stuff that is specifically written for search engines and not for users, not for humans, you will get penalized now. The biggest thing, I think, other than the helpful content update, which came out this year, was that user experience has become about 3 to 5 times more important. Site speed, the way your site loads, the way that the content above the fold loads especially. Not so much the total time it takes your site to load, but if it takes more than 2 seconds for the initial page, the part that people can actually see on their screen to load, you could get penalized for that as well. So, let's kind of take these one by one. So number one, going back to, not using duplicate content, and the Panda was the big algorithm update that hit this up. A lot of kitchen remodeling companies, a lot of just home service companies in general, they'll service a 20 to 50, 75 mile radius or so. There's lots of little cities, lots of towns. It might be in a major city like Chicago, Boston, LA, where there's lots of neighborhoods. One of the things that used to be really commonplace was to set up one page of content, talk about your services within a specific town, and then just create 5 or 10 additional pages and just change the name of the city, change the title tag with the name of the city, but keep everything else the same, including, by the way, the images. That's a big no-no. And what will happen is Google's going to filter out all of that, but the one they think is actually relevant. And by the way, you don't get to decide which one that is. That's Google's job. And that's, even though I'm saying, they don't want you to use AI, they will use AI, and their AI will determine what it is. So, oftentimes, and I'll give a perfect example. One of my clients, which was an international client, they had some content that was in Singapore. They had some content that was in Toronto, Canada. They had some content in New York, and they had used the same in the past. They literally got ranked in Singapore, where people don't even speak English. I mean, how it happened, I don't know. it's something that you can fix. So if that does happen to you, I got involved with this client, and when they told us the story, I said, well, we can fix this. This is not a big deal. But you have to de-index though that content that got indexed. You need to add in canonical tags. You need to possibly use 301s to point that content maybe to the page you really want to get ranked. Don't use duplicate content. It's just a major issue. Don't set up microsites. Don't set up mirror sites. Just make sure everything is unique. It's not that hard. And of course, kind of looking at, number 3, with number 1, don't use AI content to just change it up, but actually think about what you want to talk about. Talk about very specific things within a city. Add a paragraph. I'm not saying don't use any of the content, but spin it a little bit, right? It's not that big a deal. So the second thing we had talked about was the kind of having too many irrelevant links, having low quality backlinks pointing to your website. And this can really hurt you. So it used to be about as many links as you possibly could get in the past. Back when I started doing SEO at the turn of the century, yes, I am that old, by the way, we would use sites like iSnare, eZine articles, different article directories, and we'd write a piece of content and try and get like 500, 1,000, maybe even 10,000 other sites who are creating content just to take our content, throw it on their site, and link back to us. The problem was we had no control over who was linking to us. We didn't know who was pulling that content. It could have been from gambling sites. It could have been from the porn industry. It could have been from the drug industry. It could have been a lot of really bad, shady places you don't want to be associated with, right? So you want to make sure that the links that you are generating are coming from quality sources. And not just that, there's this misnomer out there that the DRDA, domain rating, domain authority, is the be all and end all of where your links come from. Doesn't matter. You can have links coming from a site with a DA of 1 and it goes from 0 to 100. But if it is super on point, if it's highly relevant to what you are doing, that link is going to count for a lot more than having a DA of 80, but coming from something that is completely irrelevant to you. I mean, again, kitchen remodeling contractors who we work with, I would rather get a tile manufacturer linking to me, who barely has any presence, than have, I don't know, let's say a duct tape distributor link to me who's got a DA of 50. The duct tape distributor is just not relevant to what I do. Yeah, we might use a little bit of tape here and there, but at the end of the day, that's not really kitchen remodeling. Okay, I could have McDonald's link to me. Well, McDonald's sells hamburgers. They don't sell kitchens, right? So you kind of get where that's going. So the bottom line is you really want to diversify where the links are coming from, but you want to make sure that within that diversity, it's not so diversified that it's not relevant. The other thing to consider is you want to do a backlink audit. One of the best ways to do a backlink audit, if you have a paid tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, you can actually find out where all the backlinks are coming to your site from, look at them, and then you could actually create a text file where you list the links that you don't want Google to count against you, and you can upload those into Google Search Console under the disavow section. And if that's something that you don't know how to do, we actually have a blog article at Kitchen Remodeling SEO on that. Certainly, give us a call, give whoever your web developer a call is. I'm sure you're working with plenty of people who know how to disavow links, but make sure you do that and you take care of that. All right. So the third thing that we look at is you need to have an actual physical address. You need to have a place that sends signals to Google. That's actually highly relevant. So beyond that, you need to make sure that the content that you're putting on these local pages, on these geo pages, is actual real content. It can't be fake content. It can't be AI-driven content that has nothing to do with you. That's a bunch of gobbledygook. But even more importantly, make sure that it's relevant to where you are. Don't come up with a fake address. Don't go to Craigslist and ask someone if you can send a postcard to their house and call that your office. Google actually has access to post office records. You may not realize that. They will cross-check that, and you can get suspended for it. Don't use UPS stores, mailbox, etc., virtual offices, all that, unless you truly are in that virtual office building. These are the kind of things that you want to pay really close attention to, when we're doing all of this. And then the final piece is user engagement. What it really comes down to is site speed matters. How fast your website loads plays a critical role in your ranking. Why is that? Because if a user isn't getting the results they want quick enough, they're going to back out and they're going to go to another site. What's going to happen then? Your bounce rate's going to go up. Your time on site goes down. These are two factors that Google is tracking. They know it, and that they understand that if you have a high bounce rate and you have low time on site, then users are not getting a good experience and they're not finding your website useful. The other thing to keep in mind is that as of 2022, Google is now looking at mobile sites and desktop sites as totally separate, right? So the site speed for your mobile is obviously going to be a little bit slower than the site speed for desktop, but it's measured against the benchmark for mobile and the benchmark for desktop. So you actually could rank really well for your desktop site and not at all for your mobile, or vice versa, if they're not both optimized appropriately. So you really want to make sure that you're working with your web programmers. Make sure that you do all the things that you need to improve your site speed. Make sure you're compressing everything with gzip. Make sure that you're caching things appropriately. Make sure that your images are sized right. Use next gen WebP images. And there's a whole litany of things. Again, if you go to our blog, we have tons of content on that. Give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you about it. Talk to your web developer if you have one. There's no shortage of information on the web about that. The best thing to do is there's a free site called gtmetrics.com you can use, or just go to Google, put in Google Page Insights, and use Google's own tool. It'll actually tell you and give you a few tips on things that you can do and how you can improve that. So that's kind of the hot ticket items, the things that really matter right now more than anything else. But let's talk a little bit more about what else has changed in 2022. What else has kind of gone down? So first of all, like we talked about before, old-fashioned SEO, the stuff that you were doing 2-3 years ago, certainly the stuff you were doing 10 years ago, it's no longer effective. If I used the tactics and the strategies that I did when I got into this industry in 1999, every site I worked on would be probably suspended for life. Right? I mean, there was some really shady practices that everybody used back then, and it wasn't shady back then. It was just commonplace. But we really have to be much more ethical now. We need to think about what we're doing, how we're serving our users, and not concentrate so much on what we think Google wants. What Google wants is for our users to have good engagement. And if the user has a good experience, then Google's going to reward us for that. So in this post-Panda, post-Penguin, post-Pigeon, post-helpful content era, we can go down all the different algorithms, right? Like I said, it's just about making sure the user has the right experience, has a good experience. Your site loads quickly. Your site answers what they're looking for. One of the best tips I can give you is think about the question that you would want that someone wants to ask, and that should be the title of whatever page you're creating. Answer that question in the first paragraph. Answer it succinctly, and then go on and give a much more detailed answer throughout the rest of the page. I think that if you do that, you implement some schema, maybe put in an FAQ schema into the top, or article schema that has the question and answer in there. I think that's going to make a huge difference for you. Like I said, it's just all about user experience in 2023 moving forward. So what do we look at here? What are the new ranking factors? And they're not necessarily new, but they're, I think, more important than ever. So CTR is key, the click-through rate. You want to make sure that people are finding the content that, or when they search for something, they see a result in the SERPs that kind of answers the question, so that they want to click on that to move forward. Because if your site is ranking number 2, number 3, and number 5, 6, and 7 are getting more clicks, that is a component of the algorithm. Google will take that into account, and they will start to lower your ranking and improve theirs. How do you get that information to people? It's all in your title and it's in your meta description. Those are the two things that Google reads and puts on their SERPs. Now, if you want to be a little more advanced, we want to make sure that we have XML schema, because schema gives us the ability to kind of take those meta descriptions and put them onto steroids, right? Second, indexation. Obviously, it's a must. You can't rank if you can't get found, which is why duplicate content is such a big deal. Because if your content has been filtered out, your page isn't going to get indexed, and that content that you wrote, for example, for Tampa, Florida, is not going to be seen because Google's only going to show the content that you wrote for Sarasota, Florida, because all you did is just change the name and decided Sarasota was the piece that they want to rank. Be really careful about that duplicate content. Make sure you get indexed. Another tip is if you want to know if your page is indexed, go to Google Search Console, take the page, put it into the address bar in the top of the search, and see if it's actually there. Google will tell you if the content is indexed or not. And if it says it's not, it'll tell you if it can be indexed or if there's a problem with your page. If it says it can be indexed by Google, just hasn't done it yet, manually submit it. Get that content in there. Get your XML sitemaps updated. Make sure those are, because Google's crawling those. These are the things we want to make sure that Google knows the page exists and that we've given Google every reason to actually index it. Again, time on site, bounce rate are really big. It comes down to user experience. And then, we go to links. Citations used to be really, really important for local SEO. It's not so important anymore. As a matter of fact, as recently as October 2022, John Mueller, who is a spokesperson for Google, came out and literally said, we are devaluing links in favor of more relevancy and relevant content. What he meant by that is not that links are not critically important, because they still are, but links that are not coming from relevant sites, and the anchor text in those links, if they're not relevant to the content on your page, will not be deemed as important. So you want to make sure that you're getting those good links. But I would say that Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Houzz reviews, Yelp reviews, all the different review sites, that's stuff that Google can index, that's stuff that they look at. And it's really important. Sometimes the only difference between you and the 5 people in front of you in the Google business profile is they've got more reviews than you. And just by getting better reviews, or more reviews even, you can often kind of move the needle just a little bit. And again, page speed, it's huge. User experience is huge. It's what it comes down to. So, with the new SEO formula for 2023, what are the most important keywords that we're looking at? What are the most relevant links that we're looking at? Everything is about relevancy and about user experience. You always want to set up a great website. But when you set up that site, you want to make sure that you have a unique title on every page. Have that title be specific to the keyword. Every page should be targeting a different keyword. If you think your keyword is kitchen remodeling on every page, it's not. You should have a service page for kitchen remodeling. Now you could then have a page for kitchen remodeling in Sarasota, Florida. Then you could have a page for kitchen remodeling in Tampa, Florida. Then you have a page for kitchen remodeling in Brandon, Florida, and so on and so on, right? Or you could have a page for custom cabinets. You could have a page for backsplashes. You have a page for tile. You have a page for electrical, for plumbing, all these different things. Page for how do you decide what kind of cabinet space that you need, all of that stuff. Don't try and combine it all into one. And that kind of brings me to my second one is people are pretty lazy in general. So don't confuse them and give them too many options. If you have something that you want them to do, give them one CTA, one call to action on your page, and have them do it. Now, one of the things that also helps us with relevancy, helps us send some signals to Google, tells Google what everything is really about, is making sure we have the right internal links. So make sure that, if your page is about custom cabinets, search your website for references to custom cabinets and make sure you link to the custom cabinet page. Now, if you have one term about custom cabinets, another about custom cabinets in Sarasota, another about custom cabinets in Tampa, look around your site. Do you have the term Sarasota custom cabinets or custom cabinets for Tampa homeowners, things like that? Link to the specific pages. Great tool you can use for this. Now, it is you have to use the paid version of the tool, is Screaming Frog. Screaming Frog, you can do a custom search and it will crawl your site just like the Google crawler, looking for that string of text, Tampa custom cabinetry, and it'll tell you every single page is listed on that. You can go in and add those links. And the last thing I think is really important, the new part of the new formula is just building your authority by leveraging PR, by leveraging press releases, by leveraging Google News sites, things like that. Because if Google thinks that there are important people, important websites that are linking to you, then that will actually create the appearance that you are relevant in the eyes of authorities. Now, if it's the Phantom Gourmet, .com, okay, that is a restaurant review site in the Boston, Massachusetts area. It is one of the most important sites in New England, by the way. If you get a link on that site to your kitchen remodeling site in Houston, Texas, Google does not care because it's not relevant geographically and it's not relevant from a niche. So when I say build authority to major sites, it's not just a major site, but they also have to have some component of home services, home improvement, remodeling, something like that. So you need to make sure that you're in that part of the directory. All right. And then in terms of things that we can do on our page, we just want to do different things that will improve the user experience and improve the relevancy. One of the best tips I have is create videos on YouTube and then embed those videos on your web pages. It's going to serve two purposes. Number one, Google is the most narcissistic organization on planet Earth. They love themselves. And guess what Google owns? YouTube. So if you're sending signals that people are watching the YouTube video on the page, Google likes that a little bit more than just the average video. On top of that, if you're putting video there and someone starts watching 30 seconds to a minute of a video, that's 30 seconds to a minute more that they spent on the page sending signals to Google. Now, importantly, it doesn't help you if the video is not relevant because Google can actually understand what your video is about. So make sure that that video is relevant to whatever that page is on. With reviews, if you're getting great reviews and you have city pages, take the reviews from Google and embed them directly into each city page based on where those reviews came from. And then just all the basic stuff that we've always been doing, making sure our headings are proper, our titles, our meta descriptions are proper, making sure that we're using consistent NAP, name, address, phone. Make sure that that's the same on every page, on every site that you're out there on, and all of that. Does that make sense? Okay, are you getting value from this? If you're getting value from this, I'd love to hear. Shoot me a text. Send me an email. I'd love to know how people are finding this. So when you do all of this stuff, what should happen is your site should start to improve in ranking. You should start to show up not only should your GMV start to improve because you're sending all these local signals, but your organic rankings will start to improve as well. Now, in order to also help out with the ranking factor, there's a lot of things that happen off our website. So that's something that we want to pay close attention to as well, right? We want to make sure that we have a Google Business Profile, claim it. Make sure that you fill out all the information on it. Start building citations, but not just citations to your website, but what I would say is build citations to the Google Business Profile because that's already linking to your site. Power up the site, the Google entity that powers up your website. Obviously, start building more online reviews like we talked about. There's a lot of tools that you can use. Nearby Now, Bird's Eye are two tools that are really popular home services. They're very expensive, though. They can literally cost you hundreds of dollars a month. There are tools like Bright Local, Podium, that are a little less. Or just find out the short code to your Google review and email it to people. Put it into a QR code and give a little thank you gift at the end of a project and send it off to people, and you'll get reviews that way. Again, we talked about this, building authoritative links, leveraging G-News approved sites with guest posts, leveraging media sites with press releases, things to that extent. Making sure that, again, it's always with niche relevant sites. Don't just go to anybody, but make sure it has something to do with what it is that you are trying to build out. All right, so that's something like the really important stuff. And when you are writing content, by the way, and you're going to syndicate that content, a simple blog post is not going to do it any longer. If you're going to do that, you want to make sure that that you're embedding all the schema in there, that you are sending the right signals, link to your city pages. Embed your Google map in there. There's a whole host of things that you want to do. And we have some podcasts that we've actually talked about this in the past. We've got lots of articles on our website. You can go take a look at those. But at the end of the day, what you want to do is make sure that Google is eating up your content. When I say eat, we're not talking about your grandma's lasagna. We're talking about Google Eat, which is expertise, authority, and trust. So, just in summation, what you want to do is make sure your website is going to be the most relevant website to what somebody is looking for. Make sure that your website is sending geographic signals to Google, and that your GMB is sending geographic signals to Google, so it knows exactly what it is that, where you are, what you're about. Make sure that you're getting links from people that matter and are relevant. Make sure that your website is loading quickly. Make sure that people or at least you can't make sure, but give people a reason to stay on your site longer, to go to more than one page also from the search engines. Reduce your bounce rate, increase your time on site. These are some of the critical things. So let me ask you this: what have you learned here today? Is there any one thing that you really think, hey, I can do that? There's some real actionable steps here that Mike's talked about. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to have my team start on that tomorrow. If there are, don't wait. No time like the present, right? Take action. What you implement today, Google's going to see tomorrow. So that's really critical. That's the big piece here. So what I would tell you is, there's a lot of things that have changed in the SEO world. A lot of things have stayed the same. At the end of the day, it's all still the same. It's all about, you want to be relevant, right? You want to answer, and you want to serve the best possible answer to what somebody puts into Google. If you do that, you're going to rank well. You're going to get more leads. Hopefully, you're going to start to get better quality leads, and you're going to be able to convert better. And then the whole cycle, it just starts up again, right? And it goes round and round, and there we are. So, listen, I hope you found a lot of value in this. If you did, please shoot me an email, give me a call, send me a text. Let me know that you're getting something out of this. We don't ask anything to do this podcast. I just want to help educate the industry and make our whole industry stronger. So, in any case, again, this was the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. My name is Michael Goldstein. You certainly can get a hold of us at kitchenremodelingseo.com. Give me a call, 339-645-9461. I'd love to hear from you. But until next time, we will speak to you soon. Bye-bye.